So here I've got my Milwaukee impact gun. Sorry guys, I'm in my basement. This is a table that my kids use for arts and crafts. As you can see, we have glitter and glue everywhere. But what I want to do is open up my impact gun and re-grease it. I've never opened this thing up since I've had it, so you can see it's got some wear and tear on it. And this is actually my second one. Remember, the first one I had to send back to Milwaukee under a warranty claim, and then they sent me back this one. But it's been some time that I've had it, and this is going to be the first time I open it up. Now, this is not going to be a DIY. This thing is very easy to open up. You can see it's got 4 screws right here on the head, and then a few more screws along the plastic body, and that's pretty much it. So let me go ahead and get this open. So I pretty much got this thing taken apart as much as I want to. I don't think I'm going to go any further than this. You can see the casing is completely covered in dirt inside of there. Same thing with this side. I pulled out whatever I could, and on here you can see all the buildup that we have, right? The bearings, the ones that I could get to, they don't seem horrible, so that's good. But there is a ton of buildup of dirt and debris inside of here, as you can see, which is what I would expect. And so yeah, this is all of the internals. And my whole goal here is to really just try to clean out the old grease and then put a fresh coat of grease. Nothing crazy. And I got 2 different greases here. This one is like for gears and transmission and things like that, but it's very thick and very tacky. I don't think I want to use this one because I leave my tools out in the garage during winter and they get just as cold inside the garage. So a grease that this pretty much hardens up during the winter. It's like super tacky and stiff. This one stays just like regular grease even in the cold, so it's what I'm going to use. It's just standard high temp wheel bearing grease. As you can see, I mostly got it all put back together again. I didn't go crazy with the cleaning because that's not what I was here for. I just did whatever cleaning I could. The main thing was to get out that old nasty grease and put brand new grease, which is what I did. So I'm just about done here. Let me go ahead and put the other half of the cover back on it, and this thing be all set. We'll give it a test. All right, so I just finished reassembling everything. It's gonna be the first time putting the battery on it. Well, the good sign is the tool has not exploded and it still works. Let's go easy on it at first. That's gonna be it, guys. So let's go ahead and put this bad boy to use because I have a car to work on right now. Got this Kia Optima here. We have to pull it into the garage and change some parts because when it was snowing, she slid into a curb and something got bent on the front right side. You can see in order to go straight, I have to hold the steering wheel like this. So it's pretty bad. As soon as you let go of the wheel, it pulls to the left very hard. I looked at the car already, and the control arm, the lower control arm, is like in a V shape. Okay, since it's bent up pretty bad. But for good measure, when things get hit pretty hard like that, I told her let's go ahead and change the outer tie rod as well, because we don't know if it has a small bend in it. So just to cover my bases, you know, that's what I'm changing. The inner tie rod looked like it was fine. I didn't see any noticeable damage in the shaft or anything like that. Anyway, so the woman already had to take it to a tire shop and get a new tire put on that side because the alignment being so far off, it just chewed right through the tire. So we got a new tire on that side. Let's pull it into the garage and get these parts changed. So I got the old parts off. Here goes the tie rod and here goes the control arm. You can see how it's bent right there, and I believe it has a mild bend right there. But this is what it's supposed to look like, nice and flat. And then we have this thing. So let's go ahead and pop on a new part. I already got the new tie rod installed, and just put all this stuff back together. So I'm all done. There goes the old parts right there. New parts are on. Everything is put back together, and the steering wheel is straight right now, and it looks pretty good from here. Before, with the steering wheel straight, this thing was like completely almost turned. And you can see it pretty much matches up with the front left side. So what I'm going to do is take it out for a test drive, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to bring it back into the garage to make some minor adjustments on that outer tie rod, just to get the toe as close as I could possibly get it. Of course, every car like this, I tell the owner to take it in for a wheel alignment, but you know, it was basically undrivable the way it was before. So you know, she's in pretty deep with this, with parts and labor. It gets expensive when you don't got a ride to go back home, so you got to call Uber or Lyft or something. And I mean, they want like $40-50. It's freaking crazy. So it gets really expensive. So I'm gonna try to get the toe as close as I could possibly get it, and then tell her, you know, whenever you save up enough money, take it in for wheel alignment. But yeah, let's go out for a test drive. First test drive in the car is much better, obviously. So we're going straight down the road. Look at the steering wheel. You can see it's a little bit to the left, but nothing crazy. And when I let go of the steering wheel while I'm moving, it doesn't pull to the left very hard. So it's looking pretty good. I think what I'm going to do is, I don't know, I'm on the fence on whether I want to just leave it or not, you know, because this right here is already pretty good. It's like, how much better can I possibly make it? You know, the car needs a wheel alignment. There's no way around it. Just for the sake of doing it, let's pull it back into the garage. We'll check the toe alignment, and I'll see if I can make some minor adjustments. So I went back to the garage, made a few adjustments. It turns out what I had to do was give the front right wheel a little bit more toe in. Of course, the aftermarket tie rods are going to be different lengths from the OEM. Even the lower control arm, everything's aftermarket. So of course, sometimes you got to make little tweaks, and it's actually better now. As you can see, I'm going straight down the road, and I'm holding the steering wheel pretty dang straight at this point. And it's even more stable now. When I let go of the steering wheel, it goes straight. Watch. Okay, going straight down the road, hands off the steering wheel, and the steering wheel is not pulling, and the car is still going straight. Some people say I have laser beams in my eyeballs. I don't know, that may be true. I tend to do pretty good with DIY wheel alignments. And honestly, I didn't even have to pull out the measuring tape. I just kind of eyeballed everything. Just held the steering wheel straight, and I could see that there was a little bit too much toe out on that front right wheel. And I just kept eyeballing everything. I'm really happy with it. I'm gonna go ahead and park it, and she could come pick it up. The next car we got to go in the garage is a Mazda MPV, and it's here because of this. Window doesn't want to go up. I checked it a few days ago, and the switch works just fine. I could hear the motor trying to work, but it just doesn't want to. So the window regulator is getting changed as well as the motor. It's all one piece. So we're gonna go ahead and change that today and get rid of this mess with a hole in it. I think she made a hole in it so she could go through drive-through like McDonald's and things. Yeah, hi, can I get a Big Mac? Here goes our replacement part. It's an ASIN unit. And as you can see, it's the regulator as well as the motor all in one. So I'm gonna go ahead and start digging into this and get rid of all this mess right here. I hate when people put duct tape on their car because it leaves behind all that residue. The worst thing is in the summer because it just gets baked on and it's almost impossible to remove at that point. Okay, so we're pretty deep into this thing. Got the door panel off and the moisture barrier off. Obviously the glass is out. I got it sitting right there just so it stays safe. And now I'm just going to start removing all of the nuts that are retaining this regulator, and hopefully it comes out without too much of a fight. I got the new regulator installed. The power is on. I got the door panel sitting here loosely just so we could connect the switches. So at this point, if I hit the up switch, it should move. And yay! The glass isn't coming up because I still don't have the glass on, but I just wanted to make sure everything is working. So if we look inside of here, I'm gonna move it back down. There we have it. So let me finish putting all of this back together and this thing will be all set. All right, so it's all done. Everything's put back together. The glass goes up and down. Going up, it does go up a little bit slower than going back down. You can see down goes a bit faster. And I did put some white lithium grease right here in the rails all the way down. You can probably see it inside of there. And that's the best it's gonna get, guys. Don't know why it goes up so slow, but that's what it is. And who knows, that resistance is probably what's killing these motors or this whole assembly, because this is not an original part. Someone's already changed it before. So this whatever resistance is causing this is probably what's taking out these regulators. And I tried to see if there was any adjustment in this stuff, and there isn't. It's just the frame of the door, and that's it. So it is what it is. Anyway, it's all done. It's fixed. As you can see, I cleaned up the glass as best as I could. It's always nice when you're doing work like this. The customer always appreciates when you clean up the glass. I even cleaned up the side mirror, so it looks real good. We got this 2016 Hyundai Elantra here in the garage. Now the owner actually hit something while driving. All the oil dumped out of the engine. He said it started to make some noise. The check engine light came on, battery light came on, and he immediately turned the key off, pulled over, and the car got towed over here. We left it at the end of the driveway, and then we pushed it in so we don't start up the engine with no oil in it. And that's where we're at right now. I'm about to pull off the lower cover of the engine, and let's see what damage is going on here. I think best case scenario is something like plastic just cracked or broke off or something. Hopefully there's no real damage here. It looks like this entire tray is held on with zip ties. Guys, this isn't its first rodeo. So let me go ahead and cut all the zip ties off and get this pan off. So I got the front half of the shield down, and I'm not really seeing anything that's obvious. At least from this side, I could tell the oil leak is on this side where the pan is at. But looking at the pan, it doesn't look like anything hit this pan. I'm not seeing any obvious damage like a big dent or gouge or anything in this pan. So of course, let me finish taking off this shield right here. But as of right now, like first impressions, I'm not seeing something that jumps out at me. The only thing we can't see is the drain bolt for that oil pan. Don't tell me that drain bolt walked itself out and that's what happened here. I don't know. Let's find out. America. America. What's going on here? Who was in here last? Who did the oil change? That's absolutely nuts. And the threads don't look mangled up to me. Whoever was in here last, whoever did the oil change, it might have forgotten to torque down the bolt. Oh my god, this is actually best case scenario for this car. No pan replacement, no nothing. Just replace the bolt and put new oil and maybe even an oil filter, do an oil change while you're here. Well, before I go ahead and call the owner and tell him the good news, I wanted to make sure that the threads on that pan are fine and they can hold a bolt that gets torqued down. You know, I don't want to tell them, oh, it just needs a bolt. They run out and get it, and then I have to call them back with some bad news and say the threads on the pan are stripped out. So the threads on this one match up at just a random oil drain plug I found here in the garage. You know, if you're wondering why don't I use this one, first of all, I don't like hex plugs. I'd rather have a traditional bolt as a oil drain. But also this hex inside of here is slightly worn out. It's not going to affect what we're doing today. It'll still work. It'll still let me torque it down. And the point here is just to see if the threads on the pan are still good. And the thread checker, this thing is an absolutely fantastic tool. I love this thing. When you need it, it just works wonders. So you can see the drain plug threads into this thing perfectly. And that happens to be a M14 by 1.5. All right, so now I could go ahead and tell the owner, well, you know, when he goes to the auto parts store, they might be able to get the correct drain bolt just by getting the car's information. But in any case, we know the exact thread pitch that he needs. There we have it. Got the bolt in, torque wrenches on it, and I was able to get to the specified 30 foot-pounds with no issues at all. You could hear it click right there. No issues at all. Torqued down just fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove that drain bolt, call the owner, tell him to bring me 5 quarts of oil, oil filter, new drain plug, and a crush washer. Hopefully there is no internal engine damage. It is what it is, right? So this thing will be all set real soon. So we got our oil filter, new bolt from the dealer, and a brand new crush washer. Let's go ahead and get this done. I got the new drain bolt on it, got it torqued down to 30 foot-pounds where it's supposed to be. What's funny is the filter wasn't even tight. This thing came off super easy. I guess someone did an oil change on this thing on a Monday. Anyway, I got the new oil in the engine. Everything's pretty much ready to go. Let's go ahead, start it up, see how it sounds. Hopefully there was no damage done to the engine, but I guess we'll find out. Oh, it was loud for like a good 2 seconds and then just instantly went away. Yeah, guys, it's not good running your engine without oil in it. Hopefully no damage was done to this engine and it lasts a long time, because the kid just bought this car. He just bought it a couple of months ago. It's new to him. He's still making payments on it, and for something like this to happen, that's absolutely crazy. I told him, whenever you're buying a used car, always change the oil. It doesn't matter if the previous owner said, oh, I just did it. Don't trust anyone. Change the oil yourself. Make sure it's done right. Make sure that it has good clean oil, that the oil filter is tight and the oil filter has been replaced, and also just as important, that the drain bolt is nice and snug how it should be. So let me go ahead and put that lower shield back on this car, and this thing will be all set. I know someone's going to leave a comment about this, so I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Looking back at this, what I should have done was disabled the ignition coils and crank the engine over to build up that oil pressure. So if you were going to leave that comment, you're absolutely correct. I didn't even think about it at the moment, but hindsight is 2020, right? Now, as far as any damage being done to this engine, honestly, guys, nobody knows, because there's all kind of holes in this kid's story. He said he hit something and that's what caused all of this, when clearly he didn't hit anything. Whoever did the oil changes didn't properly torque down that bolt and it eventually walked itself off. And he said he turned the engine off immediately, but I don't think that's the case. Based off of what he was telling me in person, he said that all the lights on the dash turned on, and that's when he decided to pull over, and then he turned the key off. So guys, this engine turned off because the lack of oil. The engine stopped by itself because it had no oil in it. So if there is any damage being caused to this engine, it was done by the kid running this engine with no oil in it, as opposed to me starting it up for 2 seconds and waiting for it to build up oil pressure. I hope that makes sense, and I hope that puts someone at ease. I've heard back from the owner, and he said the car is still running great.